I'm here to listen. Why am I walking on this way?
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Muse's AT Podcast, where you can relive my epic journey with me. This is Muse, and what follows is my Appalachian Trail story. And what follows today isn't just my Appalachian Trail story. So I'm sitting here with Ratatouille, and we're going to go into a little bit of his Appalachian Trail story and talk a little bit about how those two stories had intersected, because we got to be really good friends on the trail, and those stories did intersect. So let's kind of go into it. First of all, Ratatouille, so we're sitting together here in my home in Concord, North Carolina, and last time I saw you was on Springer Mountain.
Yep. Where you fell and almost died.
Where I fell and almost died. I think we probably, okay, now that we've said that, I owe that story to the audience. I'll definitely fill that in at some point here. Good call out there. But what I want to get into right now is, what have you been up to in between Springer and here? What brings you to Concord, North Carolina? What have you been doing post-trail?
Yeah, Muse. Well, I've been, I'm actually originally from North Carolina, so it's I've lived out in California for the last 5 years. So after the trail, I flew back to California and I picked up my car, and I've actually been road tripping through the United States. I went and saw all my California friends first. It was really good catching up with them. Then I went to Yosemite, and I went to Death Valley. Again, all these are like my old kind of stomping grounds. I've lived out there for so long, so it was really cool to go back to those national parks. And then I drove out to Colorado, where I met another group of friends that we hung out with. And I actually remember Wildflower or Nutty from
Nutty.
We met in Vermont.
Still Wildflower to me.
Yeah. Caught up with her too. And then I headed down to just driving through the country down to New Orleans. I'd never been. Mardi Gras, let's go. And then and then up into Mammoth Cave, and then New River Gorge in West Virginia. And now I'm coming back here. And going to go spend some time with my family over on the beach.
Very cool. Yeah. Very cool. And maybe that's something we should fill in, because you just mentioned Mardi Gras. So we are recording this in the middle of February of 2026. Still working on getting the podcast up and running at this point, so not absolutely sure when this will air. It'll be one of the first few podcast episodes, but it could be a couple months from now. So just in case the listeners hear that and they're like, Mardi Gras, what? It's May. That sort of thing. Very, very cool. That's awesome. And it's been fun. Obviously I asked you that question more for the audience and for me. I know what you've been doing. It's been fun kind of tracking you through that. And this has been an awesome thing.
You made the Ratatouille tracker.
The Ratatouille tracker. Absolutely. So when we first met, that was in the Notch Hostel. Right. Forever ago, seems like now. Yeah. And so we were almost all the way through the White Mountains. And so before we get into, and I want to kind of quickly get into parts of your journey that were similar to the parts of the journey that the audience has been hearing from me. But even before we go there, I just want to be like, what were the White Mountains like for you? Because you'd done almost all of them. We did the rest of them together.
Yeah.
So kind of describe that whole scene for you.
All right, the White Mountains. Okay, so I'm trying to think how to tell the story. So actually, the last time I saw Utah, there's a gap between when I saw Utah and Silly Putty was actually in Gorham, and that's right before the Whites, right?
Okay.
So they went off, and I started hiking the Whites, and you're asking my experience kind of thing?
Just how were the Whites for you, that sort of thing?
They were great. I really thought the Whites were beautiful. I think if we want to, we can get into the story of the huts. I know, I have an amazing story there.
You know what? We probably ought to do that.
Oh, we ought to do that?
But go ahead, go with your general impression first, and then let's dive into that story since you brought it up.
Whites were miserable in a lot of ways, too. I remember the hiking up the backside of Madison was... it was like a 4,000 or 5,000 foot elevation.
I remember the backside of Madison, I
remember coming up onto that peak, and I just remember stopping 5 or 6 times. Finally get up on the mountain. There's 30, 40 mile per hour winds. And I'm like, please, just get me to the hut.
So the one thing for me that backside of Madison was the best was that it was at least first thing in the morning for me. Oh. Did you have that same experience? No. So that's why it might have been a little rougher for you. Yeah.
It's towards the end of the day for me because I started at Carter. So then I had to take, because the bridge was closed, so I had to take the detour around the Wildcats.
Okay.
Yep. And so, I don't know, I think I was at mile 5, 6 before I started climbing up.
Yeah.
And so, I took that time and then, came up over that backside of Madison and finally got to Madison Hut. Yeah. And
Okay.
then the rest of the time was great. I did fall, actually, in the whites. I don't think if you remember that or not. Maybe when I met you. But I had fallen in the whites. My leg got stuck in a rock, actually. So I had to fall straight on my butt. And I bruised my butt so bad that I actually couldn't sit down for a while. Like, I couldn't sit up.
I remember
that?
the aftermath of
The
that.
aftermath,
I didn't remember the story exactly, or I may not have even known. But I remember you were sitting funny for a while.
Yep, sitting funny for exactly. So as you know, I always get injured. So I got
Yep.
That was a nice, I think, 300-mile injury that stayed with me until.
Now, we all always got injured. I mean, that's part of the deal, right?
Yeah.
But like, you seem to bring it to a different level.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think everyone can agree.
Yeah.
Our family can, at least.
Right.
Yeah. But yeah, I got injured multiple times in Maine. We could talk about that and the whites as well. But yeah, overall, I really enjoyed the whites. Did not enjoy the huts. We can get into that story. I don't really like the system there either with the trail, the campgrounds and stuff. I feel like that's a little. I don't know how you feel about it, but I feel like that was a little. It could have done better.
I agree. I mean, it was a lot. My experience with the huts, though, the huts were actually a very positive thing for me.
Cool.
Yeah. So I remember us actually talking about that in Vermont and how other people would northbounders would come up and ask us with the huts, and we'd both be sitting there. I'd be like, why don't you give your version? Mine's going to be different. And we gave them kind of the good and the bad, sort of, right? So, yeah. Well, go ahead and go into your story, because actually the audience is probably wondering, right?
Yeah, what's going on?
Why did Ratatouille not like the huts? Well, they're going to get a good taste for it if you tell your story, aren't they?
So for the viewers that may not know, along the whites, there's a hut system. So basically, there's these huts that are essentially glorified bunkhouses that you pay, I think it's $150, $160 a night to stay in. Yeah. They're basically a bunkhouse. There's no showers. There's no charging. They do have a deal for thru hikers or whatever, where you can have a
work for stay.
A work for stay, or they can do that orange card that would get you.
Oh, that's for the campsites.
Yeah, the campsites. Yeah, so there's a way to skip the huts and do the campsites, but if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, but the distances are pretty high, so it's kind of hard for someone who's hiking through to be able to hit those.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Well, or at least you had both. Right, so it could line up better for you to go to one of the huts as opposed to one of these campsites. Yeah, and I think the distances were pretty high.
Yeah,
at least for
Sobos.
At least for Sobos like us, right? We've only been on trail for so long at that point. We haven't gone 1,600 miles like like our northbound counterparts, right? So exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so basically, to my opinion, you kind of have to stop at hut. It's very hard not to stop at hut. So anyway, back to coming up the back of Madison. I come up the back of Madison. It's 5 or 6 o'clock. I'm pouring sweat, and I finally get into Madison Hut, and I'm like, oh, I'm here. I go in, and I'm like, do you have a work for stay? And the head cook, or the hut leader, I guess, she was saying, yeah, we have one. I was like, oh, thank you. So we're sitting there. I'm sitting there with another Nobo. And he's like, oh, you're going to get the easy stuff. I think you're going to get compost. He's like, last time I did it, I went out there. I stirred the compost piles for 15 minutes, came back in, easiest job. I was like, sweet. So Sierra comes over and is like, yeah, you got compost. I'm like, okay. So I hike on. She's like, takes me out to this, where the compost is. It's a 55-gallon drum. And she's like, okay, here's the compost. Like, oh, I need to stir it. She's like, no. You're going to scoop it out of this 55-gallon drum, scoop by scoop. You're going to put it into this trash bag that she provided. You're going to throw it over your shoulder, and you're going to bring it into the forest and sprinkle it on the forest floor. I'm like, okay. And she's like, and here's your shovel. She hands me, I guess the audience can't see, but probably a foot-long shovel, like a gardening shovel, that I have to scoop out of the 55-gallon drum. So I start scooping. Within a foot, it turns into muck. It's just disgusting. Garbage juice everywhere, whatever. I'm just doing it. It took me 3.5 hours. So by that time, it's 8:30. And I'm just head to toe garbage juice, and I stumble into the hut. I'm like, please, let this be over.
Well, and I've heard, of course, bits and pieces of the story, most of the story before. And when you put it together with the early part of the story where you actually had been hiking all day to that point, I get it more. Right?
Yeah.
Because there have been times I've thought about, your experience there, and I've been like, why don't you just say, forget this and hike on?
Yeah.
Right? But, it makes total sense. You were, and it makes it even worse because you were that tired and you ended up having to do this 4-hour job. So, yeah. Most work for stays weren't like that.
No, most are like 30 minutes of work. Yeah, I mean, that was my only work for stay. You'll see, this is not over. You'll see why. But
yeah, right.
So the next day, the story continues. The next day, there was a storm that came through. And Madison is before Mount Washington. And I wanted to summit Mount Washington when the weather was okay.
Yeah.
So I decided, well, I had already had a reservation for Mitzvah, which is another hut on the other side of Mount Washington. So I decided that, I'll transfer the reservation. So I stayed in Madison for a night as a guest instead of as a work for stay.
Yeah.
Totally different experience. They were a little bit nicer, blah, blah, blah. Kind of sitting there enjoying my time. Well, for those who don't know, in these huts, they do these skits. Like, I don't know, there's theater. They're basically theater kids that run these huts. And at dinner service and at breakfast service, they do these little skits. And some of them, they're all like however they want them. I heard there was like a pregnant Batman that gave birth.
I missed that one.
But there's like random ones I've heard. And then in mine, it was a Ratatouille themed dinner. And so for those again, I don't know if they know my name's Ratatouille, but yeah, they run around. They have little mouse things on their face, like little paintings of mice, and they're running around with their little hands up and asking people, I don't know, in their ways. Anyway, long story short, it's the end of the dinner service. They stand up and they're doing their talk about safety and conservation, all this other stuff. Well, they look at me or they scream, "Is there a Ratatouille in the audience?" And look straight at me. And mind you, I'm in a group of 50 people. These are huge dining halls.
Right.
And I look at her and she stares me right in the eyes. And so I stand up, I wave, and I sit back down. And she's like, no, you stand up. So I stood up and she's like, take your glass. So I grabbed my glass and she's like, okay, now take your fork. And I took my fork and she's like, bang them together. And I banged them together. And then the whole team bowed and were like, speech, speech, speech. And they got down on their knees. So all 50 people turned their head and look at me. And I'm just like, thank you all for coming. Like,
right. I feel like the whole thing was a setup from theme onward.
Oh,
right?
100%. Like, let it do no. Like, what is this? But yeah, apparently, I did my little spiel. It was pretty good. I mean, I guess it was good enough because people thought I actually worked there. But it was more of just like, why would you do that to a person?
Right. Yeah. What was the point of that?
No, what was the point? Yeah. And yeah, so my experience with the huts was not a good experience. I did not enjoy the huts. The food was decent though. The food was good. And for the most part, like anytime I didn't stay at the huts, like Madison Hut I stayed at, so I got to know the people well. But when I stopped at other huts, it wasn't that bad. They were nice. Yeah. They gave me free food, or not free food, but leftovers. And
leftovers. And yeah.
So,
well, I mean, for my part, I thought I mentioned, very overall positive experience with the huts. That sort of support of being able to refill your water bottle, being able to, kind of get that free food. Actually, I thought made the whites in general easier.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
I think if I had the work for stay experience you had, I might have thought differently too.
Yeah. So shout out to the Madison crew.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
It was fun.
Well, you mentioned Utah just a little bit ago, and I've introduced the audience to all of our trail family, and I know, for instance, I'm thinking especially about Utah, Silly Putty, and Foggy Froggy, because you met all of them before I met any of the four of you, yourself included, right? So, what was your experience with them? I think actually, if I have it right, you actually hiked with Utah for a while. I don't know if you hiked with Silly Putty Foggy Froggy for a while as well, but what was like meeting people early on, especially them? What was all that like?
So good question. I met Foggy Froggy, Silly Putty, and Utah in the same place, actually. I met them all at the Hostel of Maine, but they were different days. So when I first got to the Hostel of Maine, that's where the Roadhouse is. Do you know what town that is?
Like you're talking about that little like general store that like he brought you to.
No, like
Okay.
there's a town there. You can go either way. Remember? And some people go up north, which is where the roadhouse is, and some
Okay.
people go down.
Oh, the Maine Roadhouse, the other hostel.
Yeah,
The one that's
Maine
actually
Roadhouse.
in Stratton.
Stratton, there it is.
As
Stratton
opposed to
to
Hostel
Carrabassett
Maine and
Valley.
Carrabassett Valley, yeah.
Yeah. Hostel Maine's in there. You went to Hostel Maine, right?
I did go to
Yeah.
Hostel Maine. Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm guessing I was probably there just a couple of days before you.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
But yeah, Hostel Maine, shout out to Keenan. He's awesome. If you get to go to Hostel Maine, go there. So I roll up to Hostel Maine, and I see this girl with a mullet. And I just kind of walk by. You know, she kind of looks at me, but she's on the phone, so you know, whatever. So I walk in, and in Hostel Maine, they like make you like you're a like you have the plague. You know what I mean? Right? Like, they bring you in, and they're like,
They want you to clean up.
yeah, they're like, clothes off right now. I'm taking you to the shower. Like they very much have a very clean policy.
Right.
So like, yeah, all your gear stays outside. You pretty much pick your loaner clothes and you go straight to the bathroom and change. So I did that and I come back down. Well, when I come back down, the girl with the mullet would eventually be Silly Putty. She needs to go to the grocery store, so do I. So we all hop into a truck with the owner Keenan. And he's got his like kid in the back or whatever.
Yeah.
And so we also order burritos. So we order burritos and Keenan's like, oh, well, that's going to take time. Do you guys want to go drink? So we were like, sure. So we wound up bar hopping with his baby. We go to the first one where it's like a cidery. And he like orders like, we all order flights and we're just like going, and he's like he drinks really fast, so it's like me and Silly Putty, you know, we're both kind of small.
I remember him. Yeah, I mean, he's not a small guy.
He's like 6'4", 6'5".
Yeah.
Yeah, he's going in. Anyway, so we get to that one, then we go to another bar, and then we go to the actual burrito place. It's been like 30 minutes, and he's still like, you can go to the bar and drink after. So long story short, that's how I met Silly Putty.
Yeah.
We got plastered together within knowing 15 minutes of each other with a baby. So yeah, we're pretty close at the beginning. And then later on, I actually met Foggy Froggy. Foggy Froggy was actually, she was taking a shower during that time, so I didn't meet her till the next day.
The way I heard it, you know, she was there with Silly Putty, of course, but then Pops Keenan was just like, shuttle's leaving.
Yep, going right now.
So
Going
she
right now.
kind of got left behind, right?
And the best part is when I met Foggy Froggy, like, she was really quiet. We both know that's not true.
Right. What about Utah?
Yeah. So Utah.
But you were actually with him in the wilderness a little bit. No. Probably not. No.
No. Utah, I first met
He
again.
didn't start until way
Way
so
later,
you couldn't have met him in the wilderness, right?
So it's funny, I met Utah, and he's sitting beside this like young girl, and I thought, oh, it's a father and daughter hiking together. But I found out that girl's name was Littlefoot. I don't know if you ever met her.
I didn't meet her. I know
but you heard of her.
I heard about her, and you would tell me stories about her sometimes.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how I met Utah, and we just kind of got to chatting. And you know, at first I was like, I don't know about this guy, but eventually, you know, you warm up to me. How Utah is, you know.
Yeah.
He breaks barriers really quick.
Yep.
So yeah, that's how I met him, and then I actually wound up hiking with him and Littlefoot for a while, but Littlefoot was too fast. So was Utah. You know. But actually, if I think about it, me and Utah got to Gorham together, I guess, at one point. So yeah, we hiked together a long time.
Yeah, I have a feeling, and of course I hadn't met either you or Utah, but I have a feeling we were probably in Gorham at the same time.
Probably.
You guys stayed at that hotel. I was at the Barn Hostel.
And I'm pretty sure it was like a day before. Was the Barn Hostel where your foot was falling off?
Yeah, basically. Yeah. I mean, good way to say it. Yeah, my feet were pretty messed up, so I stayed in Gorham for a little while. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Were you there when Silly Putty? Because Silly Putty was there.
Silly Putty, yeah. Actually, Silly Putty and Foggy Froggy showed up. That was where I met them.
Okay.
And they showed up, and they probably, I'm guessing, that they stayed there an extra night after the last day that I left.
Gotcha.
So I left, they would have stayed there that night, and then they got back on trail, and then they caught up with me at Im's shelter.
Yeah, so we were like a day and a half apart, because they had been there. This was their second day whenever we saw them.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Small world.
Hey everyone, Muse here with a quick update before we get back to the trail. I just got the numbers for our very first week and I am super excited. 114 downloads in our first 7 days. Just seeing that number was very exciting. It represents that a number of my closest family and friends are really engaging with my Appalachian Trail story, and that is astounding and also humbling. I did a little research to get the proper perspective on that and found that that first week performance is top 25% for all podcasts globally. I'm completely blown away. This ad spot first airs as I'm just hitting the festival grounds for my first trail days in Damascus, Virginia. If you hear this and see me at trail days, please let me know. I want to thank you in person. To everyone that I now get to call my audience, a sincere thank you. I am truly grateful that you chose to join me on this journey. Now, back into the woods. So, when the listeners are hearing this, I will have not quite gotten to the trail yet.
Okay.
Right. So this is going to be, like I said, it's going to be one of the first, the first interview podcast I'm going to put out there because I'm taking advantage of the fact that you came to visit me.
Yeah.
So that's awesome, right? So this is going to come in really early, and I haven't even quite gotten on trail yet. And I'm just wondering, since they're hearing what that's like for me, can you fill in a little bit what that's like for you? What is the trail to the trail?
Yeah, trail to the trail. Oh, that's a good question. Trail to trail for me, I mean, it starts with coming to terms with like a chapter closing for me. That I think that was the hardest part. I had been working with a great company for over 4 years, and it was time to say goodbye to your friends, say goodbye to anything. I think that was really the hardest part for me. You're talking about a trail to the trail was actually like, I was in California. So you're talking like 3,000 miles away from where the trail was going to be. You don't really know when you're going to be back to see those folks. You're kind of leaving your employment. You did the same thing. Where it's hard to say goodbye. It's even hard to break up with an employer, right? It's difficult,
especially if it's a good situation.
Yeah, it's a great situation. Yeah. So it's one of those things where I feel that was probably one of the hardest parts for me. Pre-trail, I was training, or I thought was training, but let's just put that I really think that people don't give enough respect to the Appalachian Trail, especially the northern half, of how hard it is.
I'll attest to that same thing. I mean, one of the things I tell people after trail myself is there are actually two. I haven't mentioned this in the podcast yet, and so I'll say it right now. I'll take the opportunity. There are two things I wish I did differently right before trail, and one of them was I wish I'd studied up a little bit more on plant life.
Yeah.
And I could have seen, known what was, but the other one was definitely, I wish I would have trained harder.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't ready for Maine.
Same.
Yeah.
I was so broken so many times in Maine, physically, a little bit mentally. But yeah, getting back to it. So for me, again, I was training, but I was training in the Bay Area. So a lot of the trails are like pack grade. There's not roots and rocks that you're climbing over constantly. Your foot is hitting a flat ground. You can keep your head up. Right. None of this you can do in the northern part.
Yeah, that's kind of the flip side of it, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't. How do you train for the trail until you're on the trail?
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
And having, I had some gear on my back, but nothing like the 35 pounds, 40 pounds I started with.
Yeah.
You're not training like that, or at least I wasn't. So that was a big wake up call for me. At least trail to trail training. Getting to the trail was relatively easy. I think I did something similar to you. You had a problem with your flight, but I flew into Bangor, and I took the bus. It was funny. I was in a bus with a bunch of Amish kids.
Okay.
They had a bunch of Amish people, and they were fascinated with my cell phone. I'll never forget. They were just like, "Can I play with it? Can I play with it?" And I was like, looking at their father, like, "Can they play?" And it was just an experience out of this world. I put a game on for them, and they were having fun. But yeah, I didn't even know they could ride buses. But yeah, they can.
Apparently so.
So yeah, I went up there, and then I actually met Gator and Croc in the next terminal for the bus. Fun fact.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You met Gator and Croc, right?
I did. I saw them at Piazza Rock.
So yeah, Piazza.
Well, before I met you.
Yeah, before. So yeah, small world again. But yeah, and then I got to AT Hostel, Maine, or AT, was it? Hostel, maybe?
Yeah, AT Hostel.
Yeah, AT Hostel,
in Millinocket.
In Millinocket, yeah, with Trash Panda. Mm-hmm. I didn't do the deal that you did. Kind of in retrospect, I wish I did because, shakedowns, they can try to upsell you on things, but also it's like just good knowledge to know what you can cut when you do need to cut. I didn't get a shakedown until I got to Monson at Shaw's, but in retrospect, I probably should have. I literally pretty much 18 hours of traveling, got there, slept for 6 hours, got in the car, and then went to Baxter.
Yeah, nice.
And so, all in all, I'd say that my trail to trail was exhausting, and I should have done more preparation. But you get there, right? You learn.
We made it.
Yeah, we made it, right?
That's right.
That's all that matters.
In hindsight, it still worked out. Right?
Yeah. If anything's an experience.
So it's probably a good time to ask this one. Why?
Oh, man.
So if that was your trail, it actually sounds a little sudden the way you just said it. So like,
Yeah.
what's the why that's driving you to get to the trail?
And you're asking the hard questions. I gotta think about it.
It's hard-hitting interviews.
Yeah, man. For me, again, I really like challenge. I'm one of those people that sounds kind of narcissistic, I guess. I don't know, but like the harder something is, the better and the more it means to me. You know, I again, you know, went to engineering school. I, you know, went to random job across the country.
Yeah.
Didn't know anyone, met people, you know. I like a lot of challenges. And one thing, you know, I'd say probably about same around you, 7 years ago or so is when I got the idea of doing it.
Okay.
And it had always been the idea of doing it. It just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed because for another reason life got in the way, right?
Right.
And so to answer your question, it was more of like, I just wanted the next thing. Like, you know, like to me, if it's harder, it makes it better. You know, and like this seemed like something that was very hard, not only physically, which I don't feel like I really challenged myself that much physically, but mentally too. Like this was going to take a lot of time. 6 months of just every day doing the same routine, not cracking, right? 6 months of constant damage to your body, 6 months of exhaustion. I mean, honestly, people don't think about just the amount of exhaustion you get from the AT. Like just every day you're tired in a way or sore. But yeah, to me, I think that's what it came down to. I needed a challenge. Then towards the end, I felt like I could not think of a reason why not to. Right. And I think that's one of the weirdest things. It's like, you know, when you get in your bubble of like AT, I could not, people are like, oh, that's crazy. Why would you ever do that? And then I look at them like they're weird.
Why didn't you do it?
Yeah. What's your with you? Like, this is awesome.
It almost sounds, I'm glad that you kind of ended with that because as you're saying that, and I don't think I'd ever asked you that question before, which is kind of funny as many hours we spent together on the trail. But it almost sounds very similar to my answer.
Yeah.
and you've heard me say that it just boils down to it was awesome.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do have aspects that get deeper than that, but really on the whole, it doesn't get deeper than that. Yeah. It's awesome.
It's almost like a calling. And it's just something people, it's like, because as soon as I got off the trail, that was like the number one question everyone asked me. And you're just like, you just get a calling, you know what I mean?
Same. Yeah. And I remember answering this question on trail a couple times.
Yeah.
But it's like, as soon as you step off the trail, why'd you do it?
Yeah, exactly.
That comes up like almost daily.
Everyone you talk to.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly the same thing. It's a calling. And I think there's only a certain amount of people who get that calling and certain people who actually do it, you know?
So what about, because as I mentioned, the listeners have heard, you know, I'm on the verge of being there, right? So, like, what are your early days? What about Katahdin? What about the 100-mile wilderness? Okay. What about Southern Maine? Southern Maine, they will not have heard this from me, but Southern Maine pretty much broke me.
Yeah, broke you.
So, like, what was your experience through those things?
All right. First day, I get to Baxter State Park, and I'm just sleeping there. I'm not climbing. I go and climb Baxter, and I come down, and I'm sleeping. I wake up and my sleeping pad's deflated. So day one, my sleeping bag is a hole in it.
Already
has a hole in it. Yes. So I'm already, hitting the ground running. Things are going great. 2 days later, this is where I guess we can go in how I got my name, right?
Let's do it. Yeah, right? Yeah.
2 days later, I'm sitting in this shelter. It's pouring rain. It's 3 a.m. I'm sleeping on the floor, like on inside a shelter, but it's not the flat planes. It's the round bar. I'll explain it. You know what I mean? Like the floor isn't flat. It's like rounded pieces of log or wood, right? And so you're sleeping on. I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, I know, filling that in a little bit because I don't think I've talked about this up until now, but like the shelters are basically 3-walled with a roof. Right. And in Maine in particular, all throughout the trail, you normally have flat planks that make the floor of the shelter. And usually, there are some exceptions, but usually you're sleeping on that floor. Mm-hmm. You don't generally have bunks and stuff like that. And some do, but most of them don't. But the other style in Maine is, as Ratatouille's expressing here, it's actually, rather than being flat planks, it's almost as if you've got like broom handles
Yes.
that are fused together in
Knobby,
some way.
knobby broom handles.
Yes, yeah. So it's one of those.
Yes, it's one of those.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there sleeping and getting my pads flat, so all of those knobs are going into my back. And to cap it all off, the people who came and slept with me that night in the shelter are snorers. And not like rhythmic snores like Utah, but like the kind that like it's sleep apnea. So
man, we're 6 episodes in. We already threw Utah under the bus. All right. Hope you're listening, Utah. All right, sorry, go on.
No. But it's like the sleep apnea that like it's scary, you know, like it's all quiet. Then I was like, you know, kind of thing. You're just like, so it's pouring rain. I'm still awake at 3 a.m. and I hear this scurrying. And again, I'm not like comfortable with rats yet, you know, because it's like 2 days in. So I sit up and panic, and right as I'm in the process of sitting up, this rat comes up, smacks me in the face, and then runs down my sleeping bag. So I hop up screaming, like absolutely like shrill scream. It's so loud that the people beside me, those
you want to demonstrate for us?
No, I'm
okay.
That'll be the next interview. Okay,
all right.
They wake up because it's pitch dark. You have to think about it. There's no light, right? Like people have to turn on lights here. So they're like, "Is there a bear? Is there a bear?" Like they're freaking out. People from around the campsites around the shelter come up because they think I'm having a medical emergency.
Yeah.
Like so. What happened is the rat came up. I threw the sleeping bag down. The rat scurries out, and then in the morning, the older guide, you know, dibs me Ratatouille.
Nice.
How I got
nice.
it. Yeah. It's a great time.
So that was like your first night in the 100-mile wilderness. First or second night?
Yeah, first or second. Actually,
Okay.
I think it was the first night in the 100-mile because I think it's the first shelter in the 100-mile that I had it at. Yeah. So it was great.
Okay.
And then it continues. So day 4, forget, but I come up to this river crossing, and there's this older gentleman there. I think his name was Jay. And we're sitting there, and he's like hesitant because the river crossings can be pretty intimidating if you haven't done them in a while.
Yeah.
Especially in Maine, you know, I don't know if you want to go into it, but there's a lot of river crossings in the 100 mile. It's probably the most you'll do for the entire trail, actually, I'd argue, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is Maine is where you have to ford rivers.
Yep.
Right? So it's not only are there more of them, but then there's also, you got to get in the water.
Yeah, you got to get in the water.
Yeah.
Well, this is, I tried not to, and that was my problem. So, basically I come up, and Jay is he's a little scared because he's an older guy. He's like, you know, I don't want to fall, blah, blah. I was like, oh, don't worry. I'll show you how it's done. So I hop out to the first rock, and I'm fine. So you can do rock hopping, or you can actually wade. And I was like, I don't want to get wet, because at this time I'm wearing boots, not trail runners.
Yeah.
And they're waterproof boots. So, again, something you learn. But yeah, so I didn't want to get them soaked. So then I jump to the next one, and I immediately slip. And as soon as I slip, both of my knees go into the rock, and I fall into the water. And one thing, you hear about it, but you don't really understand it until your bag is soaked and you're turtling. Like, you cannot get up. Like, it is impossible to pull yourself up. So I'm sitting there in pain, trying to turn around so I can pull myself up onto the other bank. I pull myself up on the other bank and crawl out. Jay hops across the rocks and then asks me if I'm okay.
Well, you showed him how to do it.
Yeah, showed him how to do it. Anyway, so I make it to the shelter there, and we hang out or whatever. The shelters are awesome. And but I wake up in the morning, my knees are all swollen, like the size of, I don't know, grapefruit. It's just huge, both of them.
Yeah.
So I actually can't hike that day. I have to zero, which is not hike at all and just stare at the ceiling of this shelter. Another thing that happened is when I fell, my phone, my earbuds, everything electronic fell in the water too. They're all soaked. Nothing works. So I'm basically like, nothing I could do. Except when the occasional hiker comes by, I'm like, please talk to me.
Right, yeah.
I'm here, there's no, I'm laid up in pain. Yeah, and luckily, again, like, I put my phone out in the sun, and I took it apart, actually.
Okay.
It's like glued on the back, and I pulled it apart. And luckily, it all dried out. But still, during that time, there was nothing. That's where I met Frogger.
Okay.
Coleman. Yeah, first time, stuff like that. That was cool. But yeah, so the next day, I was still so beat up, I popped like 4 ibuprofen, but I still hiked 16 hours and went 8 miles.
Yeah.
So that just tells you how bad I was in pain. Luckily, later on, it started going away. It did take me, I think, 13 days to get through the 100 mile, which is supposed to take a normal person 9 or 10.
Well,
Depends.
let's not go with the supposed to.
Okay.
That was 13 days in the 100 miles.
Okay. Wow, and I was injured.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But I think the crazy thing is, like, towards the end, I only had like 11 days of food. So I was starting to ask people, like, towards the end, I was like, please can I have some ramen? Like, I don't know.
I had no idea how to plan food. I planned for, I think, 10 or 11 days, ended up spending 13, still had 3 days left over.
Wow. So you're the guy I should have ran into. That's what you're telling me,
That
right?
would have been great, right?
Yeah, please.
So, yeah, but the 100-mile, right? You look at that on the elevation profile,
Yeah.
and it looks like pretty flat. Like, it doesn't look so bad, right?
Not at all, yeah.
That's kind of not really how it is, right?
And I think, too, it's because we're Sobos. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like, we don't have our trail legs at all. Like, looking back, like, I bet if we were in Virginia and then we got transported back to the 100-mile, we would have ripped
That's a
right
good
through
point.
it.
Yep.
Because, like, you're right, the elevation's not that high, but it's the footing. I can't explain it more to people. It's the footing. Maybe other people are okay with it and they're good, but I cannot. I just don't have traction. I can't keep speed, slipping and falling.
The rocks and the roots and the stream crossings and then as much as it's not really changing elevation that much, that's a steep up then a steep down followed by a steep up and then a steep down, right?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's more than it looks like it is.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's boulder fields, like it's just terrain you've never really messed with.
Yeah. But beautiful, right?
But beautiful. Oh, 100 miles is amazing because you don't hear a car, you don't hear a plane. Like it's really cool for like you don't really, and you have no service, so it's like maybe a little bit, but still like it's like 10 days of your life where you're totally disconnected. Which is, I don't think you really get that unless you pay for a retreat or something.
Before we continue with Ratatouille's story, I want to jump in with a quick safety check. In the next segment, Ratatouille tells a story that was actually quite scary and could have ended a lot worse. Now, Ratatouille is a seasoned hiker who knows these things. Even as this airs, he's out enjoying the Scotland Trail, making the transition from the Central Highlands out to the West Coast. But on the spot in an interview, things can get confusing. So I want to be 100% clear for anyone listening who is heading into the backcountry. When fording a stream, always face the current. You want to lean into the flow with your third point of contact, like a trekking pole, to maintain your balance. If you face away, the water can buck your knees and take your feet right out from under you. Most importantly, and the story that follows will make this point emphatically, if the water looks too high, too fast, or just plain wrong, don't ford. It is always better to wait it out or find a safer crossing upriver than to risk a sweep away. We want you to finish the trail, not become a story on it. Stay safe out there. Now, one last unrelated thing. It's my first interview. I forgot my outro altogether. I recorded it later and spliced it in. It couldn't be clunkier. I'm going to leave it that way and just let you guys chuckle at me a little. These are the sorts of funny things you have to dial in when starting a podcast, I guess. And now let's get back to our buddy Ratatouille.
One last story, I guess, from the 100 Mile is there was a time where it rained. It was like a really big rainstorm. It's like the biggest of the century. It was something like 6 inches of rain in a night or something. Of course, that's the day where I decided not to be in a shelter. My poor tent. It was holding on for dear life, but I made it.
Yeah.
And again, you don't have any.
So I was lucky because I started 4 days ahead of you.
Oh.
I was at Shaw's.
Yeah,
I was in Munson already, so I kind of
chilling.
I dodged that. I was just chilling, watching it rain, hearing them getting 911 calls, bail us out, left and right. But you were out in that. So,
in the rain, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead and go
the thing
on.
is,
How
too,
was that?
you don't have any warning, right? You know what I mean? Like you're out there in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like I could have known.
So you could check a weather report anyway. Yeah.
And I mean, like, I found out eventually that you can in Reach Minis, but I didn't know at the time, so I had no idea going in. So anyway, I wake up, and it had poured 6 inches of rain, and we start hiking down. It's me and Gator and Croc. Those two people I met. And we come down to this river crossing. Oh, and we met Kiddo and Hero there as well. At the shelter there. So it's me, Kiddo, Hero, Gator, and Croc, and we're all sitting at this shore, and we're looking over at this creek that had become a river. I mean, it's just rapids. Like you look over, I mean, it's coming over a rock and shooting like 6-7 feet the wave, and then coming down. Like there's no way you could ever cross this thing. Like it is roaring. You can't talk to people beside of it. It's so loud. You're like screaming. So anyway, we're all sitting there. We're like, you know what? We'll camp out and we'll wait for maybe the levels will go low enough to where we can go across. Which again, just let everyone, listeners know that's not a good idea because it takes days to do that, not a few hours like we were hoping.
Right. But you didn't know.
You didn't know.
You don't know until you know.
Yeah, I don't know until you know. But anyway, we look across and there's this Nobo who's coming across. We're on the North Shore. They're on the South Shore. And they put up those paracord lines, right, that are not official. So everyone knows, don't use the paracord lines. They're not official. But she's like over by it, and she's like looking like she's going to cross. So Hero, which is Mateo or whatever, he comes up and he's like, don't cross. We're all like, don't cross, don't cross, don't cross. I don't know why, but she feels like that means to cross. So she starts crossing. And it's one of these, where the cross is, there's like a bend in the river. So obviously, like the first 50%, it's fine because the water's not flowing that fast on that edge. You know, it's going to flow faster when it's closer to us.
Yeah.
So she gets about 50% of the way. Around 60%, she loses her footing, and she like her legs go straight up, and she's doing it the wrong way too. You're supposed to put your back towards the flow. You know, like that's how you're supposed to cross, but she's not. She's facing the flow, and so she's holding on to this paracord line. And her feet are basically swept out. So she's like waterboarding herself, basically. She's in the flow. Like it's just smacking her. All the stuff on her bag's coming off the sides. Everything's just going shooting downhill. And she's like barely holding on. So then she like somehow gets footing, does like a 180 and turns back around. So now her back's to it. And now her legs are just up in the air. And she's just holding on to this paracord thing. Like it was terrifying. And then like 90% of the way, she just jumps. It just goes for the side. And luckily, again, the trail provides. Mateo, who is an ex-riverboat instructor, happened to be there, was braced, and pulled her in. Because the water was going so fast that if she would have went, like if we put out a trekking pole or something, she would have pulled us right in. Like, I mean, it was that fast. There's no way we could have caught her.
Like if there was anybody there that didn't have that expertise,
it could have been a really bad situation.
Probably takes them with her.
Yeah, right? Honestly, or it became a very bad situation because I mean, it's probably it's weird to have a near death experience in front of you. You know what I mean? Like
right.
Like
and you still have just started.
Yeah, I just started. Yeah, I'm like this is like day 4. You know, I'm like
you've already had a ton of experiences.
Yeah. So. Luckily, she makes it. You know, she's all tore up. She's, you know, sad or crying and everything because it's terrifying, you know, and she leaves. So that was my day 4 or 5 of the 100-mile.
Yeah.
It was a good time. And then we waited the next day to cross that same river. And luckily, I was there. I guess cooler heads prevail because Gator, like, really wanted to do it. He's like, we can do it. We can do it. And I was like, I think we should do it. You know, like it seems a little too fast for me. It was lower, but it was still, you know, it was pulling.
See what happened yesterday.
Yeah. Like whenever you put your poles in, you'd feel your poles shaking because the water is so fast across and they kind of warp a little bit. And I'm like, I don't think we should do that.
Right.
But anyway, so we wind up bailing out. There's a blue blaze that you could do to a road, and that's how we get to Monson. But yeah, when we get down to the ATC in Monson, she was saying like, yeah, it's a good thing you did that because safe crossing conditions is like 150 ccm. It was at something like 1200 ccm that morning.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's good you did that because you probably couldn't have crossed it.
Yeah, that was good.
But yeah, so that was, I guess, my 100-mile experience, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, so let's think of more Maine fun stuff.
It kind of, Maine breaks you in a little bit easy after the 100-mile. I felt anyway, right? You get into Munson. The road to Carrotunk's, the trail to Carrotunk's, not that tough.
Oh yeah, that's my first injury. That's my first injury, right? Yeah.
Okay. Well, and then I was going to bring us through the bigelows and the saddlebacks, which are significant, but still not nothing like you're going to get past ranging, right?
Yep.
But I don't know. Let's tell your story now. What happened on the way to Carrotunk?
Yeah, so I was at Monson at Shaw's, right? And I was beat up. So I took like 3 or 4 days there because it's mostly, first hit me was my ankles and my knees because that got hit, right?
Yeah. And
I also learned that, you know, depending on the type of shoe you use is where you're going to really wear out your joints. If you wear boots, your knees and hips. If you wear trail runners, mostly your ankles, right? So I switched into trail runners because, you know, they have more grip. They have a lot of stuff. You can go in it if you want, but I'm a trail runner guy now through and through.
I am too, for all the same reasons.
Yeah, for all the same reasons, yeah. So I put those on, I'm hiking, and I start hiking, and there's this thing called the piriformis, and it's this muscle that's behind kind of your right butt cheek, and you're hiking. And if you're going down a hill really steep and you're leading with your heel and your hip goes forward, that muscle tenses to stabilize it. And what was happening is I sprained that. And what happens when you sprain that, it swells up and it actually goes up against your sciatic nerve. So basically how it was is around, I think 15 miles before Caratunk, every step I took was excruciating, shocking pain.
And is this from the experiences in the 100?
I think it's built up because it's just, you're getting so beat up, right? And
Yeah.
my body, there's no way it was been used to that much, over and over again, that much weight. Luckily by this time my pack is a lot lighter because, I had my shakedown with Poet and Shaw's and whatnot. But in reality, I mean, I think it maybe had been building, because I had felt it a little tight and then it just finally did. So I'm limping into Caratunk, and that's where Sterling Inn is. And I'm limping. And it's all the stairs to get up to even the rooms.
Oh yeah, there were a lot of stairs at Sterling Inn. Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it, but it was probably some of the worst pain I'd been in my life.
Oh wow.
And I get into that hotel room and I just lay down and I'm just sitting and staring up at the ceiling I don't know if I can do this. This is an injury. This may be this could be my end. And I'm I only made it 120 miles. I quit my job. I came across the country. This can't be seriously?
When I remember on trail even thinking, I knew about half of what you just said.
Yeah.
I knew about half of what you just said and thinking, man, the mental resolve of Ratatouille to stick with it, going through all that, it was even more than I thought. And go you.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I think the worst part too is you're there and just all your friends are leaving you. The friends I made in my 100-mile, Gator and Croc, a bunch of other folks I met, even the ones I left because I wound up staying there for another 4 days. Just came
in Caratunk.
In Caratunk
for 4 days.
4 days too. And so you just have these people that you met at Shaw's who had just gotten in, and then they're like, "Oh, you'll feel better just leaving ahead, and you'll never see them again, right?" I think that was really hard. Just sitting there and realizing that the friends you've already made, you're never going to see again.
Yeah.
And at the beginning, that's hard for you because you don't realize that on the AT, you meet a lot of people one time and then they're gone forever. You know how it is. Or you meet one.
It's kind of funny how that worked. You never knew.
Yeah, you never knew who
it's going to be the person I only met once, or I could end up running into them again.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Because Trash Panda at the AT hostel, he was like, "Oh, the people you hike out of Maine with, you'll hike with the whole time." That is not true at all.
Right.
I hiked with totally different people the whole time almost. So, but anyway, so I get to Caratunk. I'm at the Sterling Inn, and I'm beat up. And this is where our mutual friend Shotgun comes in, actually.
Okay.
And I'm sitting there, and again, the trail provides. I'm telling you, his wife has a yoga studio, and so he knows yoga moves and everything. And he's like, "You look really bad," because I can barely walk. He's like, "Can I do some stretches with you? Can I help you with your stretch routine and everything?" And we did yoga 2 days in a row. He stayed there for 2 days, and every day.
I remember you telling me that he helped you with the yoga. I didn't ever know all of the background, but
actual sessions, hour-long sessions where we'd sit down and he'd okay, you need to bend it this way. Okay, straighten your leg here, your heel first, things that, I'm not a yoga guy. So it was just crazy for him to, take time. And we found the muscle because, I was doing one stretch and my physical body would jump when I moved it to a certain point. He's like, and there it is. And he's like, and you want to ease on it. You don't want to push it too hard. You'll hurt yourself more. Yeah. And so a combination of that, and then also too, they take you to that lodge with a hot tub. So I was chilling in the hot tub too.
Okay. Yeah. Probably helped.
Yeah, probably helped a lot.
Yeah.
But I got to the point where it was day 4. And of course the manager was hilarious. He's like, "Sure you don't want to stay another day?" And I was like, "No, it still hurts, but nothing like it did. But I have to get on trail, or I don't know if I can if I will, right? That's when I got to that point. If I don't do it now, I won't."
Yeah.
So
that was Gorham for me. I wasn't quite ready to leave, but I needed to leave.
Yep, exactly. Get to that point. And I was just tired. I was ready. There's only so much pizza you can eat. That's all they had. It's just pizza. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Ugh. But yeah, and then I got in there and went across the ferry with that really nice guy. And I was I told myself, well, I'll hike until I can hike, or I'll hike until I'm tired, or until maybe it hurts, and I'll stop.
Yeah.
Hike my own height. I'm not going to try to catch up with those people that pass me. I think that was the hard part, just coming to terms with that. And then just being what will be, will be. just went and hiked.
Okay.
And then, oh man, after Caratunk, what's after Caratunk? You gotta remind me, man.
Next you've got, next would be, and you've already mentioned it, be Stratton or Caravasset Valley.
Yep. Where I met Utah.
So that's where, so you're meeting new people there. And then really the next town after that, and it's only like 30 miles, would be Rangeley.
Yeah.
And I felt like after Rangeley, so Rangeley's right by the Saddlebacks, right?
Yep.
And I felt like, so you had the Bigelows, then you had the Saddlebacks, and then after that is when it was like game on. That's kind of how I felt anyway. Yeah. And I don't know what your feeling was of like the stuff past Rangeley.
I feel like past Rangeley, personally, I feel like I may have just went numb.
Okay.
I feel like, because I remember the Saddlebacks, because they're beautiful. Bigelows and Saddlebacks are probably my favorite in Maine.
Absolutely, 100% with you there.
I stayed in between the two Bigelows. There's that Avery campsite or something, and I got to see the sunrise on the other one. Oh, absolutely, it was amazing. But I don't necessarily remember it being too hard, because I feel like I had been beaten down so much that, it was hard.
One
physically.
foot in front of the other at that point.
Yeah,
right?
but as long as it didn't hurt, I'm okay, And so towards the end of Maine is like what the Notch and what is it? Not the Notch. What's it called? Mahoosic Notch, right?
Mahoosic Notch. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a big one. And then before that, Franconia Ridge that's New Hampshire, right? Yeah, Franconia Ridge is the end of New Hampshire, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily remember it. Another thing that helped me though is I was kind of hiking with people. So after around Rangeley, I think, I was hiking with Silly Putty and Foggy Froggy for a few days. So they kept my spirits high.
Cool. Yeah.
Yeah, we randomly would scored free beers off some people in a parking lot. And, it's all this trail magic stuff that just randomly happens. And then at Madam Spec Mountain or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, they kept going and I went to a hostel. Then after that, I believe I was hiking with Utah a little bit. I think he's popping up in my head. But what I'm trying to say, and
I think that makes all the difference. I mean, if I can jump in here, I think that makes all the difference though.
Yeah.
Because I remember meeting up with you guys again. This is real late, so we'll get there in the narrative for the listeners eventually. But meeting up with you guys again for Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And it just
changes
180 degree changed my hike. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a completely different hike for those last 3 weeks than it had been for the 2-3 weeks leading up to it.
Yep.
And
Agreed. Yeah, it changes completely.
Mm-hmm.
And these people I just met too, right? So I remember distinctly, because I did Mahoosic Notch with Littlefoot and Utah.
Yeah.
And I remember, I'll never forget this funniest thing. So Utah and Littlefoot they're just beasts from the beginning. They can out-hike me any day, anytime. I was struggling.
I never met Littlefoot, but I remember trying to keep up with Utah, and it wasn't happening.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it was so funny. We did a 18-mile day, and they're like, oh, we'll meet you for lunch, Ratatouille. And I'm like, okay. I get to the lunch spot by 3. Obviously, they had already left, but I was so late,
Yeah.
And I push, and I roll into camp at 9 o'clock at night. Utah, bless his soul, comes out and eats dinner with me. He's really nice. Comes out of his tent. There's bugs everywhere. It's one of those nights. Yeah. But he was like, yeah, I'll sit with you. Littlefoot pokes her head out and she's like, oh, Ratatouille. And I was like, oh, hey. She's like, I never thought I'd see you again.
Nice.
Yeah. And I was like, not that slow. But yeah, like you said, we went through Mahoosic Notch and all this stuff together. And I think maybe that's what really made the difference is not only the company, but also you have someone to keep pace with.
Yeah.
I know that's kind of weird, but you're with someone that will challenge you and you're no longer just challenging yourself. Because if it was just me, I probably would have took it really slow.
Yeah.
I've been I'll go 8 miles a day or something like that. But I wanted to keep up with my friends, so I pushed myself. And just so the user or your viewers know, that's not the best thing to do sometimes, because if you hurt, you should stop. But like you said, it was just a new source of energy, so you have people to hang out with.
It's good to have a thing to push you though too.
Yep.
Right. So yeah, I mean, yes, if you're hurt, you should stop. Absolutely. But sometimes you got to push through that.
Yep.
Right. You're never gonna get to the end if you're stopping all the time. Yeah. I remember hiking with you and Shotgun, and it would be looking forward to I mean, we generally hiked alone. Even when we
Yeah.
were hiking together, quote unquote, we generally, the actual act of hiking was usually
Alone,
by
yeah.
yourself, right?
Yeah.
But it was like, I'm going to see my friends again
Yeah.
when I
we
get to
there.
the shelter at night, right? So, yeah, I totally see what you're saying there. Yeah.
Yeah. Helps a lot.
So very cool. Well, that brings you to the end of Maine
Yeah,
in
yeah.
your narrative. And as I mentioned, the listeners will continue to listen to my Maine narrative. I'd love to have you back on, especially as you start to as I get to the point in the narrative where I'm about to meet you.
Yeah,
right? That would be
yeah,
a great time to say, "Hey, Ratatouille's back. He's about to you're about to hear about him in the journal and that sort of thing." That would be cool.
Yeah, of course. I'd love to be back on.
All right, awesome. Well, thank you for doing this.
Of course.
And to all of you listening out there, this has been Muse and Ratatouille. Thank you for walking with me, and happy trails.
Listen.